and campaigns decide to start releasing their own numbers. So let's bring in attorney and host of Left Coast News, Ethan Behrman, RNC committee woman for California, Harmeet Dhillon, and host of The Next Revolution right here on Fox News, Steve Hilton. All right. It is now Tuesday in at least 2 time zones that are watching this. We are starting to get trickles of reports tonight that there's a conference call, a second one going on with the Democratic Party with a number of the staffers. And we're told, Ethan, that they're saying they'll have results on Tuesday. It is Tuesday now here in Des Moines. So, OK, we're standing by. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible tragedy. Somebody didn't do their job and test the software out before rolling it out, and then the backup system failed. It's actually inexcusable, and it's just a terrible look all the way around. By the way, all these people spent time and energy and money, the volunteers that were out there working in the field, the people that showed up at the caucus. I grew up in a caucus state in Minnesota. I loved going out and participating in the caucus, but this sure puts a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths and will make a push for more primary votes instead of caucuses in the future.
All right, well, at least 3 of the 4 of us in this conversation right now are lawyers. So, Harmeet, I have to ask you, when did the lawsuits start rolling in?
Well, I don't know about lawsuits because of this political setting that everybody's going to sort of grit their teeth and smile and move on and spin like some of them have already been doing tonight. But it is a disaster for all of the hardworking Democrats who turned out, the tiny sliver of the population that turned out there in Iowa to do this. And I think it's going to be very disheartening to a lot of people. And it's not a good look for Democrats. They had 3 years to prepare for this. Just earlier today, the DNC was crowing about how great it was going to be as they roll out the start of the election season. And it's an absolute disaster, and reminding Americans what would happen if these people are in charge of your health care. It's really not a good look for Democrats today.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the state party that is testing out this new system. And Steve, we have talked at length about this. You're our tech guru. Are you a lawyer, by the way? I don't want to count you out.
No, I want to confirm that I'm not a lawyer.
Okay,
Happy
so
to confirm.
You are the only non-lawyer, so you're the only one who doesn't get the nasty jokes thrown at you for the rest of us lawyers. Okay, but you're our techie guru person, and you have warned about this. And tonight we have people pointing fingers. We have, it was the operator error. It was the app itself. Do we go back to paper ballots and the old-fashioned way of doing things? Does this teach us a lesson, or was this a one-off?
I've been arguing that for a long time, ever since we heard about problems in the 2016 election and all the arguments that there about interference and hacking and so on. If you have the old-fashioned systems, it's much harder to do that. When the Democratic Party announced that they were going to have this mobile app and do the results this way, I literally said that's going to end in a disaster, because the idea that they can organize this at such short speed, and this is what happens all the time. A company, a provider of software, sells it to a party. As Ethan said, they're not particularly experienced. They don't know how they're supposed to do it, and you get these problems. And I think it's reflective of this general attitude we have, which is that technology is going to fix things that actually weren't particularly broken. Voting with pencil and paper or pen and paper and adding up the results on pieces of paper and phoning them in on a landline. What's wrong with that? I just think that there should be lessons learned, but I don't think that that will be the case, because it seems to me that this technology just sort of rolls on, whether it works or not, whether people want it or not. It always seems inevitable.
Do people still have landlines? Just raise your hand if you have one. No, I actually do. I just don't know what the number is. So when people want to call it, I'm like, I don't know. But it's there for emergencies. Okay, very, very quickly. We're almost out of time. But Ethan and Harmeet, I want to get you both quickly to give us a final word and weigh in on this idea that campaigns are releasing their own numbers. Harmeet, to you first.
Well, it's bizarre. That's not how it works in politics, and it's really leading to all these conspiracy theories. I mean, The Intercept is reporting that that one of the campaigns has contributed to the same company that made the app. So I think it is a really bad look and really undermines confidence in democracy, Shannon.
Okay, quickly to you, Ethan.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no conspiracy here. There's just a failure of function. There's nothing big that's happening here. But it's going to be really interesting to see what bears out, because if Bernie Sanders' numbers hold at all, what he released, in New Hampshire is going to be really important for the Biden campaign.
Yeah, and speaking of which,
I think
thank you very much.
finished.
You'll notice these are all, well, we'll see. I mean, if the predictions by some are not good, and these are people who are his opponents, so we got to wait to see. It could be a rough night for him, but everyone's moving on to New Hampshire regardless. Thank you to all our West Coasters who are up with us late tonight, to our panelists, Ethan, Harmeet, and Steve. Thank you. Meanwhile, we're still waiting results here in Iowa tonight. This morning, the chairman of the Polk County, Iowa Democrats just tweeting this: we're still not sure what's going on with the app and phone lines for state reporting. But rest assured that all of the Polk County results have been turned in and are secure. There are 99 counties in Iowa tonight. We're not sure how they're all dealing with this, but let's bring back tonight's panel for one last go at tonight's unusual caucus experience. Ethan Behrman, Harmeet Dhillon, and Steve Hilton. All right, thank you for all sticking around. Steve, we talked a little bit earlier in the evening or morning, wherever we are now, about Michael Bloomberg, how he's not playing in these early states, and he actually might benefit from this because the state, you know, things are more muddied than ever. He was out campaigning in California. What do you make of where he is? Because he's polling well in some of these national polls, but these important early states, he's not here.
Well, he's polling well in the sense that he's so recently into the race, and he's not just at 0 or 1 like some of the also-ran candidates that still apparently are in the race, like Deval Patrick or Michael Bennett. He's up at sort of 6, 7, 8%, that kind of thing. But I still think it's interesting that there's this story emerging that somehow the Democratic establishment is worried, the Democratic Party establishment is worried about Biden as their establishment frontrunner, and therefore they're rigging it all so that Bloomberg can come in and save the day. The idea of Mike Bloomberg as a savior just doesn't ring true to me. He's got so many defects as a candidate, and one of the biggest ones is that he just doesn't have any kind of capacity, I think, to get excitement going among the Democratic Party base. Remember, Hillary Clinton's problem in 2016 was that she couldn't do it. African-American turnout was much lower than with Barack Obama. And the idea that Mike Bloomberg is going to get that is just a total non-starter. I think it illustrates that actually whichever one of these candidates you look at, there's a serious flaw with them. And that's why I think you've got this big panic setting in the Democratic Party.
Well, and Ethan, we've touched on the fact that the DNC has now changed the rules, so it looks like Michael Bloomberg will get into one of the upcoming debates. What do you make of that after there was a much more diverse field and a lot of those folks were whittled out by these debate rules that are now being changed for a rich white old guy?
Yeah, I mean, changing the rules now is an uncomfortable place, but I couldn't possibly disagree more with Steve Hilton. I mean, Mike Bloomberg is why Virginia went Democratic, why Virginia is passing gun reform laws, why Mom's Demands is making the progress they are across the country. Mike Bloomberg was a very successful 3-term mayor of the biggest city in the United States. Mike Bloomberg is why Wall Street is as successful as it is. The failure in Iowa is an example of why Mike Bloomberg should actually win, so he can put things together and make it work like he has shown in every platform he's worked on. Well, the guy really could beat Trump in November.
Okay, in the few seconds we have left, Harmeet, we want to give the final word to you.
I'm just laughing. That's a lot of nonsense. Mike Bloomberg is a fantasy of political consultants, and there's just no way that he's going to be the organic favorite in the Democratic Party.
Okay, well, we don't know who the favorite was of the Iowa Democrats and the caucus goers tonight. So Ethan, Harmeet, and Steve. Sure. It definitely wasn't Mike Bloomberg tonight. He was not, in the caucus ballot tonight. But thank you all for sticking around for us.